In 1940, deep in the forests of Katyn, the Soviet Union carried out one of the most chilling and secretive massacres of World War II. 22,000 people were executed in cold blood, military officers, intellectuals, and professionals who posed a threat to Soviet control. But why were these people targeted, and what made them so dangerous in Stalin's eyes? To understand this atrocity, let's rewind to 1939, when Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, dividing Poland between them. Poland was caught in the middle of these two powers, its future uncertain. When the Soviets invaded from the east, they didn't just occupy the land. They targeted those they believed could stand in their way. Among the thousands captured were officers, professors, engineers, doctors, and even women with influence in Polish society. Stalin's goal wasn't just to control Poland. He needed to break its spirit. These people represented Poland's future leadership, the ones who could inspire a resistance. Stalin decided they couldn't be left alive. In March 1940, Stalin personally signed the order to execute them. It wasn't enough to imprison or deport these people. They were too dangerous. So in places like Katyn, Kalinin, and Kharkiv, Soviet forces carried out their orders. The Soviet secret police systematically shot each prisoner execution style in the back of the head. But it wasn't always that simple. Many victims endured torture and harsh interrogations before their execution. The brutality didn't stop there. Some prisoners were forced to dig their own graves before they were murdered. Their bodies were piled into mass graves, layer upon layer. Some still bound and blindfolded, as if the Soviets wanted to erase every trace of their existence. But why kill them when, at the same time, Stalin was deporting hundreds of thousands of Poles to Siberia and Kazakhstan? The deportees, mostly civilians, were sent to harsh labor camps, facing starvation and freezing conditions. It was a brutal fate, but for the military officers and intellectual elite, Stalin saw them as too much of a threat if kept alive. He couldn't risk them organizing, leading, or inspiring a rebellion. The Katyn Massacre wasn't just about killing, it was about erasing the future of Poland. In 1943, the truth began to surface. Nazi Germany uncovered the mass graves in Katyn and exposed the massacre to the world, but the Soviets denied everything. They blamed the Germans, twisting the truth. And here's the shocking part. Britain and the United States knew. Both Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt had intelligence proving Soviet responsibility. Documents from British and American intelligence confirmed that they were fully aware of Stalin's crime. But they chose to turn a blind eye. Why? Because Stalin was their ally in the war against Hitler, and exposing him could have shattered that alliance. They silenced the truth for political expediency, even though it meant letting the Soviets get away with murder. For decades, the Soviets covered up their crime, even during the Nuremberg trials, where they tried to pin the massacre on the Nazis. Survivors and families of the victims were silenced, threatened, or exiled. It wasn't until 1990, after the fall of the Soviet Union, that Russia finally admitted responsibility. But by then, the damage had been done. The lives lost at Katyn were more than just names on a list. They were the hope and leadership of a nation. The brutalities of Katyn are still hard to fathom. These weren't just quick executions. Many of the victims were subjected to months of isolation, starvation, and psychological torment in Soviet camps before their death sentences were carried out. The Soviet secret police's precision and coldness in carrying out mass executions was designed to send a clear message. There was no room for resistance in Stalin's Poland. Why does this story still matter? Because Katyn isn't just about the past. It's a reminder of how easily truth can be buried when it threatens power. Stalin believed that by silencing these 22,000 voices, he could control the future. Today, these victims are remembered, and the truth is finally known, but it took decades of lies, deception, and silence to get here. The Katyn Massacre is a warning about what happens when atrocities are hidden for the sake of political convenience. It's a story that must be told, because only by remembering can we prevent history from repeating itself. The truth cannot be buried forever. Share and subscribe to keep true stories from real history alive.